financial firm in New York City with a bunch of very smart people. And I had a brilliant boss I much admired. I went to my boss and told him I was going to start a company selling books on the internet. He took me on a long walk in Central Park, listened carefully to me, and finally said, "That sounds like a really good idea, but it would be an even better idea for someone who didn't already have a good job. You can have a job, or you can have a career, or you can have a calling. And if you can somehow figure out how to have a calling, you've hit the jackpot, because that's the big deal."
I met Jeff Bezos 25 years ago, and he told me, "Dave, I want you to invest in my company." "What are you doing?" "I'm gonna start a bookstore in my garage." "Okay, and I'm gonna put it online. People buy online, and I'm gonna ship out of my garage. But if you invest in me, Dave, someday I'm gonna be the richest man in the world. I'll do over $100 billion. First of all, there is no such thing as $100 billion 25 years ago. Statistically, there's no such thing. Countries didn't have 100. Our national debt wasn't $100 billion. And this dude's telling me at 26 years old that he's going to be the richest man in the world because he has a garage and the internet? That was his truth. No, but he did not know it, and neither did I. But the difference between him and I is I was laughing, scoffing, and jesting at him, and he was already applauding himself, going, at the right way, at the perfect time, I'm going to make as much as I can as quickly. And I'm sitting there going, there's no way this is going to be a big business.
Do something you're very passionate about, and don't try to chase what is kind of the hot passion of the day. Seen in that light, it really was a difficult choice, but ultimately I decided I had to give it a shot. I didn't think I'd regret trying and failing, and I suspected I would always be haunted by a decision to not try at all. After much consideration, I took the less safe path to follow my passion, and I'm proud of that choice.
Project manager?
Yes, 15 years of experience.
Do you have any AI certifications?
No, but I'm a fast learner.
We'll be in touch.
I don't see any AI skills here. How do you plan to stay relevant?
Project manager? I'm sorry, the position was filled by someone with AI credentials.
Stop. Please stop using ChatGPT like it's Google. Get AI certified in 28 days and you...
As a young boy, I had been a garage inventor. I'd invented an automatic gate closer out of cement-filled tires, a solar cooker that didn't work very well out of an umbrella and aluminum foil, baking pan alarms to entrap my siblings. I'd always wanted to be an inventor, and she wanted me to follow my passion. There's a military phrase that I especially love, and it says, "Slow is smooth and smooth is fast." And I have seen that in every endeavor I've ever been in. That's the kind of thing that really allows you to make progress. You know, you get certain gifts in life and you want to take advantage of those, but I guess my advice on adversity and success would be to be proud not of your gifts, but of your hard work and your choices. So, you may be, the kinds of gifts you get, like, you might be really good at math. It might be really easy for you. That's a kind of gift. But practicing that math and taking it to the next step, that could be very challenging and hard, and take a lot of sweat. That's a choice. You can't really be proud of your gifts because they were given to you. You can be grateful for them and thankful for them. But your choices, you choose to work hard. You choose to do hard things. Those are choices that you can be proud of. You can choose. We all get to choose our life stories, and it's the choices that define us, not our gifts. Everybody in this room has many gifts. I have many gifts. You can never be proud of your gifts because they're gifts. They were given to you. You might be, tall, or you might be really good at math, or you might be extremely beautiful or handsome, or there are many gifts. And you can only be proud really of your choices, because those are the things that you are acting on. And one of the most important choices that each of us has, and you know this just as well as I do, is you can choose a life of ease and comfort, or you can choose a life of service and adventure. And when you're 80, which one of those things you think you're going to be more proud of? You're going to be more proud of having chosen a life of service and adventure. There's never been a better time to be alive. I mean, it's just incredible the amount of inspiration that the world generates for me, and I think for a lot of people. It's insane.
I have a big question, which is who runs the world? It used to be an easy question to answer. If you're over 45, like me, you grew up in a world that was dominated by two giants. The United States called the shots on one side of the wall. The Soviets set the rules on the other. And that was a bipolar world. It's very simple. If you're under 45, you grew up when the Soviet Union had already collapsed. And that left the United States as the sole superpower, dominating global institutions and also exerting raw power. And that was a unipolar world. And then about 15 years ago, things got a little more complicated. The United States increasingly didn't want to be the world's policeman or the architect of global trade or even the cheerleader for global values. Other countries were becoming more powerful, and they could increasingly ignore many of the rules they didn't like, sometimes even setting new rules themselves. What happened? Three things. Number one, Russia was not integrated into Western institutions. A former great power, now in very serious decline, and they are angry about it. We can argue about whose fault that is, but we are where we are. Number two, China was integrated into US-led institutions on the presumption that as they got wealthier and more powerful, they would become Americans. Turns out, they're still Chinese. And the United States is not particularly comfortable with that. Number three, tens of millions of citizens in the United States and other wealthy democracies felt left behind by globalization. This has been ignored for decades, but as a consequence, they felt that their governments and their leaders were more illegitimate. Now, if you look at all the headlines in the world today driving all of this geopolitical tension and conflict, over 90% of them are because of these three reasons. And that's why today we live in a leaderless world. But as we know, that's not going to be with us for long.
So one of the most common questions that we have gotten from people is that what is the minimum amount that someone needs to start trading?
So what comes next? What kind of a world order might we expect over the next 10 years? Some of what I might say, I think will surprise you. Because we're not going to have a bipolar or a unipolar or even a multipolar world. If we don't have one or two superpowers, we don't have a single global order. No, instead, we will have three different orders, a little overlapping, and the third will have immense importance for how we live, what we think, what we want, and what we're prepared to do to get it. But first things first, today we have a global security order. And as you see from the map, the United States and its allies are the most powerful players on it.
Happiness through curiosity on TRS Clips. What was it like playing with
Yeah, very different. Arjuna is a very strong leader, very forceful leader. Like, he will have the people are scared a little bit, right? And Dhoni is not like that. Dhoni is calm and quiet. He doesn't few words when he needed here to not much team meetings. Just few words. He gives you the freedom of setting the field or whatever you want. If it goes wrong, he comes and talks to you and say, "We will sit. You bowl like this." So that kind of a captain, and also he was the cricket keeper, easy to captain also because you see all the angles. So when I bowl to someone, and if a good ball it was six, he will appreciate that. So normally whoever captain has reacted to that like that, then the bowler says what I've done wrong because I did the best and the batsman was too good and hit you. So then the captain is disappointed. You feel bad, right? So your performance come even down. The guy like that say behind the wicket and said, "Yeah, well done, well bowled, keep going." Then you have more confidence. So captain is believing in you that you bowl a good ball, hit him. Same, I can bowl the next one, he might get out. So that kind of a theory he has. So I think his theories are very, very reality. Sometimes in IPL you play 14 games. His target is you going to bound to lose some games. That whatever said, then you can't win everything. So you're going to lose. So he thinks that 7 games, if you win out of 4, you have a chance of getting to the qualifiers. Then after that, do or die. So that kind of policies he has.
I have a couple of questions. By the time you played for CSK, you were already a legend. So one, how did he captain you? Because technically you were his senior. And we've always asked a lot of his juniors on the show this question about Dhoni, and they have a very different version of him. Where they've given me the Ranatunga version, what you said, that intense captain and all that.
So even though Dhoni has came in, we respected him because I always respect a captain because whether he's young or because as a captain you have to give a respect to them. So I always respect, but my point of view also sometimes I say to him, he accepted something, he listens, and then you don't have to do that, but it's only a suggestion. See, experience doesn't matter for him because he was a very brave person. And
course now. Only 29 rupees. Smile and learn.
Hello, friends. Today we're going to discover other places where living beings live. These places are known as habitats. Did you know that? We call a habitat a place that has the necessary resources so that living beings can survive. These resources are the light, the water, the temperature, the ground, and the oxygen. Depending on what these resources are, we can find very different habitats. There are two types of natural habitats, terrestrial and aquatic. Today, I'm going to travel to the terrestrial habitats. Are you coming with me? Desert. My, it's so hot. Look, we're in the desert. There's a lot of light here, and the temperature is very high. It rains very little in the desert, and water is scarce. For this reason, many animals and plants have developed strategies to accumulate water. This cactus is an example. Animals like scorpions, snakes, or mammals like camels or dromedaries can live in the desert. Did you know that there are cold deserts too? Here, everything is frozen and temperatures are extremely cold. There are barely any plants in these habitats. However, we are able to find some animals that have adapted to be able to live in them, like the polar bear. Look how many plants there are. This habitat is the jungle. Here, there's lots of rain and temperatures are mild or warm. This favors a humid environment in which there are many living beings. Let's see which ones we can find here. Look, an orchid and a hummingbird. This can be a panther or a jaguar. I think I'm leaving. I don't want to be his dinner. Woods. We're in the woods. Here, too, there is plenty of vegetation. Mainly trees like beech trees or pine trees, and shrubs or bushes like the rock rose or the arbutus. Did you know that there are many types of woodlands? Their temperature may vary from cold to warm, and because of this, the vegetation and the animals we find there change. In the woods, we can find some animals like bears or eagles. Here too, it rains often. I think that this cloud means a storm is coming. Let's continue our trip. Prairie. We've just arrived at a prairie. This habitat is characterized by small plants like grass and animals like foxes or rodents. The climate in the prairie is humid. Winters are cold and summers are warm. Savanna. Another habitat with little vegetation is the savanna. Savannas are usually dry areas where it rains very little. However, we distinguish two periods, a dry season with low temperatures and a season that rains a lot with warm temperatures. The latter one is called the humid season. Here we can find grass, herbs, non-woody plants, and some trees like baobabs. Among the animals, we find many herbivores like elephants, zebras, or giraffes. There are also carnivorous animals like lions or cheetahs. Today we have seen the terrestrial habitats, among which we find deserts, jungles, woods, prairies, and savannas. but we still have aquatic habitats left to visit. Don't miss the next video. See you soon.